Final session of this series. Who's been here every single week? Because you get extra brownie points. I don't control the point system. That's Bethany. Bombard her after the show tonight. Well, thank you all for being here. It is the final session of the State 48 Foundation Entrepreneur Speaker Series, proudly presented by Four Peaks Brewing. We're excited to have you join us for this special conclusion to this series. And thank you all again for being here. We've been quite on a journey together, right? This session is produced by Dropkick, and we are live from the 11th floor of One Arizona Center in beautiful downtown Phoenix. My name is Lisa Matthews, and I will be your host for the rest of the evening. Now, before we go further, we want to show some love to our amazing sponsors who have been here all month long and tonight just for making it all happen. So show them some love. We have the painting company, Allure Event Co. and Event Rents. Now, who's had some time to go through Vendor Village and go shopping and get some necklaces? I saw some kicks over there that I wanted to steal because I decided to wear the wrong shoes tonight. They're already hurting. But as always, we'd like to thank One AZ Credit Union, the official local financial partner of the State 48 Foundation. Tonight, yes, round of applause for them. Show them some love. Tonight, we bring you the finale. Where do we grow from here? As always, we have a fantastic lineup of speakers who will be breaking down how to grow your business sustainably. We'll share strategies for maintaining efficiency and resilience, helping you achieve long-term success without compromising your well-being, which is super, super important. All right, now let's go over a few housekeeping reminders before we begin. If you do have to get up during programming, please exit on the aisles, not straight down this way, or else you will be obstructing the view for our online attendees. We have a full house, so make sure if you are standing, maybe see if there's any extra seating. We're all family here, so take a seat and make sure also that our conversations are at a low, so we're not distracting our speakers here on the set. And remember, there will be an opportunity afterwards to ask some questions. We have a whole networking opportunity at the end. We do have to wrap up the stage quite literally, so we ask you to not bombard them right away. They will make their way and you will have a chance to mix and mingle with them. Now, without further ado, I'd love to kick off the evening with our keynote speaker, and I'd love to introduce Brian North, founder of North & Co., to the stage. After I read his great bio here, Brian North, he is a Phoenix-based real estate firm with over 18 years in Arizona. I know it's awkward. I'm reading all about you. It's the moment. It's your moment, okay? So Brian and his team have handled over 1,000 properties and served nearly 14,000 clients. North & Co. was named Partner of the Year by the Arizona Housing Fund in 2023 for its contributions to combating homelessness. Brian is also a dedicated speaker and educator for aspiring real estate professionals and entrepreneurs. Brian, here you go.
What's going on, guys? You are excited to be here tonight, right? Perfect. Me too. I'm really excited to be here tonight because the first time I was in this building, exactly here, right in this spot, I was on the 16th floor at Snell and Wilmer being deposed. So it feels much better to be in this room right now with you guys. What else is really cool is if I look out the building right here, you guys see a condo tower across the way over there. And one of my very first clients as a real estate salesperson was with a guy named Shannon Breen, who's right over there. And he made them make me be here tonight. So I'm really excited. It's a lot of these little things that come full circle as an entrepreneur. With that said, we're going to play a little bit of a game that we're going to end with, which is instead of a rundown kind of bio monologue kind of thing, I'm just going to give you a few bullet points of who I am. And then at the end, there's going to be a pop quiz, and I'm going to say, who am I? And you're going to say some of those things, and we're going to play a little game. So here it is. First things first. I like to think I'm a world-class chef. I think that women have superpowers. I am a spontaneous adventurer, and I am an entrepreneur. Okay. One more. 78% street smart, 22% book smart. All right. So write those down, and it's going to be a quiz at the end. So let's talk about entrepreneur for just a moment. I'm going to take you to a time before I was an entrepreneur and I was waiting tables at a restaurant in Durango, Colorado. Anyone? Durango? There's one person. Awesome. By the way, it's a good place. It's a lot of fun. I was waiting tables, and I remember when I first got the waiting position, I realized that I was serving food to people that weren't from where I come from. They were from a different demographic. And I needed to learn if I was going to be great at building rapport with them, because the better I can make them feel in that experience, the better they were going to tip me at the end of the day. And I remember just listening to common questions I didn't have the answers to. Questions about Scotch whiskey, right? It was a common question I knew nothing about. I knew about Jack Daniels, but I didn't know anything about Scotch, right? And so for me, I went and I studied Scotch whiskey. And I did it because none of my colleagues, the other servers in the restaurant, knew anything about these unique spirits that people were ordering at the restaurant. I then wanted to understand the food because I couldn't make the food and I couldn't curate the environment. But if I could deliver it in a way that everybody else was delivering, that maybe I would get more requests. And if I could actually build a predictable business as a server, then I can actually manage my savings, my investments, and things like that while I was learning to manage money. I remember going to the chef one time and asking him, "Hey chef, what's a beurre rouge? I see this on the menu. I know it's kind of a red sauce." And he said, "Hey, it's a red wine butter sauce." And I said, "So how do you make it?" And I was so lucky to work for him. His name's Dennis Morris Rowe. And he said, "Why don't you run down to the cooler and get me a pat of butter and a carafe of Cabernet, and I'm going to show you how to make it." Think about the experience I could deliver to the table now because I actually knew how to make the sauce. Okay, very different than anything I experience right now in restaurant. And it was something that I realized worked. And I started getting a lot of requests. And I started getting requests from the clientele that I might want to work for, work with, or learn from one day. So I remember I looked around at my colleagues one day that were working, and we had to wear white button-down shirts and we had to wear aprons. And we would go down, we had a clothing service company that would bring these clothes, and we would pull them off the rack and throw them on before our shift, and we would go and work. But I remember one day I was like, I need to step up. It's about detail, okay? It's the thing I'm probably the most proud of, and it's transcended into my entrepreneurial career from this particular moment. And I would take a stack of aprons and I would take them home and I would iron them. And I remember one time, my wife at the time, Pearl, she asked me, "Why do you iron your aprons? Like, really, like, they're all folded perfectly. They're creased, they're pressed. Like, why do you iron the creases out of them?" And I was like, "Because nobody does." If I'm going to be speaking to the clientele that's going to request me and they're asking for an experience that's exceptionally better than anyone else, and I can make a big difference and they tip me 1, 2, or 5% more, that's a major difference in my life. It becomes a predictable part of my business. And it's something that I called auditioning. Every single client that came into the restaurant that was of means or that was an entrepreneur or business owner that I could learn from and make friends with, I knew that if I could just get one more second of their attention by way of paying attention to the details, that I was going to build a network that I otherwise couldn't curate in a mountain ski town like Durango. And it worked. January 2004, there was a gentleman named Werner Schumacher. He owned a company called Schumacher Mercedes-Benz in North Scottsdale. And he came in, he has a second home there. And I took care of him. And at the end of the shift, he said, "Hey, my wife Betty and I want you to sit down and have a glass of wine with us." So I did. And he said, "I want you to come sell cars for me in Scottsdale." The quick version of the next version of the story is he sent me a business card snail mail because he didn't have one. And I called every day for 6 months. He would not take my call. On the 6th month, he had his son call me, true story, and said, "You have an interview tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Raintree in the 101. I left it. First of all, I went to JCPenney's. I bought a suit, waxy shoes, waxy belt. I didn't have anything. I didn't even have a collared shirt. And I left at 4 in the morning and I drove here, did a sink shower in the bathroom, and I walked in and they said, "You're hired. You've met every qualification we could never teach." And it started with ironing my apron, okay? So the first lesson for you guys as you're in your startup business or you're the CEO of a successful business is that either did you forget to iron your apron? And can you go back to the things that you were doing that got you here in the first place? And if you're a startup entrepreneur yourself, are you paying attention to the micro details, the things that are going to matter, that are going to make you stand out in a sea of other entrepreneurs that are trying the same thing? Because we all hustle grind. Good luck outworking me. That's not going to work, okay? But if you're ironing your apron, then we might have a chance. From there, fast forward, I took a breath there because it just took me down memory lane going, holy cow, I'm here right now. This is so freaking cool. Next part is fast forward now. I sell a car to a real estate entrepreneur. I ended up going into, I became a door knocker for him. I left Mercedes-Benz to knock doors and buy investments for him. And by accident, he fell out of love with the brokerage that he built. And he came to me one day and said, hey, Brian, I'm going to fold up the brokerage. You've got a couple options. You can go move your license and be an agent somewhere else. You can start your own thing, or you can acquire what you've helped build. And I had about 45 agents at the time that worked at that brokerage. And if I could figure out an economic model where I could acquire that brokerage, I really loved the people, and I did a lot of training, and I did a lot of education and mentoring and excitement. And the company I learned was upside down to the tune of about $100,000 a quarter. It was losing money. But I found some pretty decent loopholes in the profit and loss called brick and mortar and over human capitalized. Had to make some hard decisions, okay? Sublet the building, and unfortunately let some people go, which dramatically changed the economic structure. And I acquired that failing brokerage for $20,000, okay? It had 45 people working there. Then we sat down and identified, okay, what is it that we can do to be different? Anyone have any idea how many brokerages there are in the state of Arizona? Brokerages, not salespeople. 3,000, okay? Now that's mom and pops to 9,000 person brokerages, but there's 3,000. How are you gonna stand out? So we did some really simple things. We went out and we did kind of a market study. But the thing that we noticed the most was that there was a ceiling in the real estate business. When you are going to go operate in a sea of competition, trust me when I tell you that everybody's playing to a ceiling, okay? You have 3,000 people all doing it, and you can't find anyone that stands out. Let me tell you, there's a lot of opportunity. But this is how simple it is. We went and got a newspaper, opened up the newspaper, pulled out all the real estate ads out of the newspaper and taped them on a wall. And guess what we saw? Face and name advertising that said some version of, I'm number one. I'm number one on my street. I'm number one in my neighborhood. Number one in my office. I'm number one, I'm number one, I'm number one, okay? But then I listened, and every real estate agent said at the time that they were a relational agent, okay? Which means it would be about who? You. Except for what were they saying? It's about me. So I went, okay, how risque can we get? How much can we really shake up the landscape of agent marketing? So I went to a professional photographer. This is no joke. You guys can find it on Google somewhere. And I stood like this, and they took pictures of the back of my head, okay, from my shoulders up. And it was a big, giant picture of the back of my head, and it said, it's about you. Went on billboards, full-page newspaper ads. By the way, guess how big I wanted my brand? This big. Curiosity kills the cat. Who is that and what does that mean? Not I have integrity and I work hard and I hustle and I do all these things. I just wanted the image and 3 words to tell the story, and it did. I remember we had an editor from So Scottsdale magazine pull in our office. She came in, cold called into the office, and she was like, I saw this, took a picture of a billboard. I'm coming in. Who is this and where did they come up with this? We want this in our magazine. And I was like, who made it, right? By the way, I was struggling at the time. But the important message there is this. You do not, when you are starting out, have to be great. You can't be. You haven't had your ass kicked hard enough yet. You do not have to be great, but you can make massive waves being different. Just be different. True to yourself, true to your story, okay? Third, I was here last week. The panel was insane. Anybody here last week? What'd you think? It was amazing. Panel was great, and there were a couple of comments about control the controllables. They took all of my fire away from this whole thing, right? Control the controllables. And I was sitting in the middle of the audience there, and I was taking notes. I had 4 pages of notes, and it made me think of the pandemic. You guys, when you get into your businesses, whatever you're in, okay, I thought I was getting in the business to be a better servant of selling homes. That's what I thought I was going to do. It's going to change the game. We're going to have full-time professionals. They have a minimum production standard. If they don't meet that minimum, we're going to sever them. This is all new. This is all unique to my business, right? May or may not make sense, but unique to my business. I'm going to do it different, right? Well, I thought I was going to sell homes. And I realized that I'm a leader of people. Now we have 286 salespeople is where we're at right now, okay? And thank you. Beautiful, beautiful humans that work their asses off. And when COVID happened, I realized that I couldn't teach people how to transact real estate in a pandemic. Why? It had never been done before. That's why. And in our world, the first thing that went away was you couldn't go in people's houses. So I have a buyer who wants to buy a house and they need to move in like now. They have a job relocation. You're like, sorry, you can't go in anyone's house. That's a hard thing to do. You have to really pivot. Well, I'll share with you as a leader what we did, not from the agent perspective. I made a really conscious decision about what I could control as a leader, okay? Can I control how you sell in a pandemic? I can't. I'm learning real time right now, just like you. Now, I'm going to stay up later and I'm going to wake up earlier because that's what I signed up for, to figure it out. I'm going to go dig into my network. I'm going to go meet people. I'm going to do all the things I can do. I'm going to get creative. I'm going to make shit up. It's going to go down like that. Okay. But what can I control for the people to create safety and security? How they can be mentally stronger than their competition. So what I did is every single morning, we had a morning Zoom called Stay Connected. We had more than 50% of our agents that would show up every single morning. It lasted for 6 months. And I did a basically mindset, motivation, productivity, creative standard, new marketing in a sensitive marketing environment. You have to be careful what you say. And it was really this thing where for everybody, it was, how can we work on our health? How can we work on our mental fitness? How can we work on our mental wellness? All of those types of things I could make better. And look, if we all were going to lose our jobs, at least we could make a mental and physical transition as our highest and best self, if for whatever reason, we're going to die in this thing. Sorry, bad metaphor during pandemic. There you go. That's how that works. The thing that we have to remember as entrepreneurs as we walk into things is as you grow in your role and as your company grows, you will likely be doing a lot less of the thing you loved the most when you started it. Did you hear me? When you grow and when the company grows, you will likely, in fact, for me, do none of what I thought I was going to do. So you will evolve over time. Okay? You will evolve over time into that. And you have to have acute awareness about what you can control, because I promise you, like me, 3 nights ago, woke up at 12:55 with acid reflux after I ate a salad. It wasn't the pizza and wine's fault, okay? And laid there for 2 hours, spinning around like a log, stealing all the covers from Nancy. And when I finally fell asleep, I had nightmares for what felt like 6 hours. Okay? No joke. I woke up exhausted. Why? Because I care. It's that simple. And I can't fix all of the problems for 286 people. That's how it goes. Brian, first thing, I'm exhausted. I'm tired, nightmares, didn't get any sleep. What can I control right now? Get hydrated, stretch out, take a deep breath, get to work. Okay? What can you control? Now, I feel like you're looking at me like you're getting ready to hold something up like I'm on time. How am I doing? She did that. This is going to be the first time in my life I've ended early, just so you guys know. And anybody who knows me, you're like, still no chance. They're taking the over for sure. I just heard someone say it's true. That's so awesome. We're going to do a pop quiz called Who Am I? Anybody? Who am I? Told you at the beginning. A world-class chef. Here's why I'm a world-class chef, and I'll come right back to you. Because I was raised by a 17-year-old single mom that wasn't home because she was at work all day and had to commute an hour each way. And we had no food, literally no food. We were homeless often. Went to 12 schools before I graduated high school. And literally, you guys, you give me like garlic salt, Lowry's, some butter, one piece, the heel of the bread, and a banana, and I will whip some shit up that you have never had in your whole life. Okay? My claim to fame, just so you guys know, is a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like grilled like a grilled cheese. But peanut butter and jelly, if you want to get down, try it out sometime. If it doesn't turn out, you let me know, I'll cruise over. All right? Who am I? Women have superpowers. Who was I raised by? 17-year-old woman. 17. My son is almost 17. It doesn't make any sense. I can't imagine how I'm even here. And I have a little sister. So I'm a young boy with a young mom and a little sister. And my mom was smoke. And there were guys around all the time. And they were there for one reason. It was super dangerous. Okay? Super dangerous all the time. And I realized that this petite little girl, my mom, might say some things wrong right now, but was growing up in a man's world. And she had the ability to love and nurture and care for and listen and emote. And she had to learn how to be masculine. And in the entrepreneurial environment, there's a lot of similarities. I'm going to challenge masculine that there's an opportunity for us to go and learn how to love and nurture and care for. And for that reason, it's me and 18 women that work for the company. Now, by the way, I am an equal opportunity employer. They're just better than everybody else that I have a little fun with that one. I know someone's super triggered. It's okay. One more. 78%. I think I've shared with you most of what you guys got there, but I'll share this with you. It's real talk. My first babysitter I can remember was my aunt. She's a full-blown heroin junkie. I can do a PowerPoint right now on how to shoot heroin. Thank God I've never done it. But if you guys want to know, I know how. And when I got to play was when she nodded out. For anybody who's been around opiate addiction, I'm sorry. I know the devastation that it can create, but that's when I got to go outside. I know who brought the stuff. I know who was responsible for hurting my family. And I knew how to protect my little sister and my mom. So I got street smart real quick. So here's the antidote. Here's the message from that game called Who Am I? As an entrepreneur, your words are responsible for every single thing you're going to accomplish in your life. Did you hear me? If there's anything I can help anybody with, audit your words. I'm fortunate to be in a lot of stages, speak to a lot of people. And I usually started my story 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago. My name's Brian North, born to a 17-year-old single mom, homeless many times without food, climbed the top 12 schools, the whole deal, sold 14,000 houses. Look at me now. Except for I woke up one day and I realized that I was talking about somebody I'm not anymore. I'm not broke, not raised by a 17-year-old mom. I'm far from homeless. Or to me, into a new version that is my now to free me up and open a door for what I will become instead of being that same thing for the rest of my life. And it freed me from it. It's over. It's gone. It's in its place in time. And I'm here and now. So the message there is change your story, change your life. The last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, and I know I'm over now, so I made my quota, just kidding, is this. It's a lesson that I can't not leave you guys with, which is this, especially as you are in a position where many of you have limited time, limited money. And if you're anything like me, I was so addicted to my business that I forgot to love the people important to me at times. They became second. So the lesson is this, to never forget to give away more of what you want. If you want a hug, give away a hug. Okay? If you want more time, give away your time. If you want more money, and I know for a lot of you in the room, you're like, not right now, bro. Not right now. Give away more money. Is Candace Froelich here? Is she here? She's in the vendor. If you guys know Candace, I'm going to tell a little story about her. Please send her out here. By the way, this is from me. This has nothing to do with the foundation. I was here last week. I met Candace outside in the vendor hall, and she told me her story with vigor and passion. Like this was the last day of her life. What I would call auditioning. She auditioned. She told me I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I love what I do. This is 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 what I do. And I was like, awesome. She goes, I own a small catering company. I said, why small? She said, well, capital. You know, that's it. But here's what's rad. I won a grant. I got a grant last year from State 48 Foundation. I got a $1,000 grant to fix the sink on my cart. And I was like, yo. In that moment, I forgot how important $1,000 is. I did. I was like, fuck, I'm that kid. Sorry, kinda. That was just really me. I'm the guy I just told you a story about, and I forgot how important $1,000 is. The scariest relationship I've ever had in my life is with money. I want a lot more money because I can do a lot of really cool things with it. So if Candace is here, I want to match the grant from me to you. This has nothing to do with State 48. And it's a value for me too, because I can win. So I have a check for $1,000 for you. And with that, I donated my time tonight because this is an amazing foundation. My friend Shannon asked me to be here, and I freaking love him. He's such a value in my life. He made this happen, which I'll tell you guys, I wrote on my desk calendar on July 7th. I was having a brainstorm about what my future looks like. What am I going to do when I grow up? And I wrote down, you're the world's greatest public speaker. And it wasn't about that you guys are going to say I'm the greatest. It was about what it takes to be the greatest. That's what I wanted to do, is authorize myself to do all the things that it takes to be the greatest. And on July 5th, I got an email from Bethany that I missed. And I replied to it on it was July 6th when I wrote my note, and I replied to her email on July 7th. So I'm gonna leave you with, if you think it, say it. If you say it, write it down. You have no idea what can happen. And leave you with, obviously, I want more time, so I gave it away tonight, and I want more love, and I gave you all I had. Thank you, guys.
Brian, wow. You just took us to church with a little bit more colorful language, but truly, we just learned so much tonight already. We laughed, we cried, and we still have a whole Q&A panel with some amazing speakers here tonight. I would love to introduce them as they're about to make their way to the stage. We have Alex Bradbury, founder and CEO of the Sparkle Bar, Stephanie Vasquez, founder and CEO of Fair Trade Cafe and Aya, Doug Harris, CEO and part owner of the painting company, and Matt Goatsman, author and entrepreneur and podcaster here. All right, get comfy. Are you guys ready? Woo! I have to come down from that. I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now. All right. Well, we've been here all month long sharing so much amazing conversations and insights, and we're so excited to have this full panel here tonight. Where do we grow from here? I mean, just loaded tonight with so much insight. I cannot wait. But before we begin, if you guys want to share, you have the mic first. So share who you are and a little bit more about you.
Hi, good evening. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Alex Bradbury, and I'm founder of the Sparkle Bar, a makeup studio that is based in Scottsdale, but you can experience us lots of different places. People come see us before whatever is important to them, whether it's a wedding, you're attending an event like this, headshots, family photos, just because we essentially sell confidence directly applied to the face and are here to remind you that what makes you special, what makes you unique is that you're created one of one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Vasquez. I am the owner of the Fair Trade Cafe, which just happens to be the longest standing coffee house here in downtown Phoenix, owned by a Latina. I am also the founder of the nonprofit organization Aya, which focuses on Latina businesses, brands, and makers and creating platforms for them to thrive.
Yeah, thank you. Really excited to be here. My name is Doug Harris. I'm a CEO, part owner of Arizona Painting Company. We've got 3 offices in Arizona, and then we're also in 3 other states: Nevada, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then in Texas. And we do interior, exterior painting, both residential and commercial.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me here. And I'm Matt Gottesman. I'm a writer, I'm an entrepreneur, and I wear many, 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 many hats. So I hope that we kind of dive into that a little bit. But I have a media and apparel company called The Niche Is You, which I also turned into a podcast, a newsletter, and I basically talk to millions of people each month, reminding them, your soul's more in charge than, what society often dictates. I also have recently launched, which nobody actually knows yet. It's called Nah Bigger Ventures, and it is a creative studio, a marketing firm, and a publishing firm. So always creating. Thank you for having me.
I love that we have a little bit of everything here tonight. So I'm sure you guys are going to get packed with information. And remember, we have questions at the end too. So take your notes, but raise your hand on the panel here if you've ever felt the roller coaster, the overwhelm of entrepreneurship. Okay, so we're here tonight to help the audience and everyone in these seats just understand that you've been exactly, and you're still on the roller coaster exactly where they are as well. But if you guys could just share how you stay focused and just maintain your course of action in your journey.
I can start. So yeah, being an entrepreneur is a different world. You, depending on how you make your way into the space, have either transitioned from a full-time job and are now moving your side hustle to your full-time hustle, or you like jump, all in. How do I stay focused? Well, it's really important to remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. You have to really be diligent about managing your time, especially as an entrepreneur. There's so much that you can do, especially when you have carte blanche as to how you decide to spend it. So being very focused and specific and knowing that every day isn't going to be a fun day, but that you are there to reach a goal and to stay focused and consistent in doing that.
Yeah, the roller coaster, you asked the question and it's kind of like the roller coaster over and over every day. And knowing that the roller coaster is coming and we're still getting on the ride. Like you guys, a testament to everyone because we're the crazies. We're the crazies that are on this roller coaster. I know earlier we're choosing to be on the roller coaster. Nothing is predictable. And the way that I choose to look at it is that this is exciting. This is exciting. Yeah, we serve coffee. That's like was shared earlier today. What you thought you wanted to do is what you'll do the least of. I laugh so hard right now when you said that because I am hardly ever talking with the customers and making your lattes. It's the back end stuff. And really, how do you stay focused is understanding your why and being very clear. What's your mission? Why did you start this? And get to that really deep space of like, okay, for me, it's planet, people, profit. And knowing that, and I'm very clear on that, and then being able to take care of yourself. And when I say take care of yourself, I'm talking about before you leave the house and when you get home. Because once you step out, it's unpredictable what's going to happen on this roller coaster. So, really taking care of myself.
Yeah, I think so often people think as a business owner and being an entrepreneur that it's like this, you're just going to keep growing 10 to 20% every year. But it's not, right? It's a roller coaster. You had a great week in sales, and then the next week, how am I going to make payroll, right? Or, I just had my best hire ever, and then holy crap, I've got somebody stealing money from me over here. And knowing that it's a roller coaster, I think helps you as a business owner, right? And they kind of mentioned it already, but for me, it's always been going back to my why. I had a great mentor that in 2015 told me, go home and write a personal aim. I said, what's a personal aim? I don't know what that is. And he said, write your perfect day in 5 years. What does that look like? What are you going to be doing? What does your business look like? What does investments look like? What does your family life look like? So I did that. did it in 2015. I read it every week on Sunday night, and I read it, it took a little while off, and then I reread it again in 2018. I'm like, holy crap, almost all these things that I said I was going to do or achieve have already happened in my life. So I reread it, or I rewrote it in 2018, right? And at that time, I was not married, you know, no kids. And one of the things I wrote in 2018 was I was going to be married, 3 kids, and I talked about just a perfect day with my family. And sure enough, I have a 3-year-old, 1-year-old today. And I think just that for me is like knowing your why and really keeping it in front of you helps you go through those roller coasters you're going to as an entrepreneur. It's a loaded.
That's the pivot right there. That's how you pivot. It's a loaded question because there's a lot in there. Before you do anything, I agree. You have to know, you have to be connected to it. You have to know why you want to do something. And you have to know why you want to do something. And you can't overthink it, what you're going to do, because it's so natural to think of all these scenarios that are unpredictable. I will say the only thing that's predictable is unpredictability. And the greater that you work on like this core central place of you, when you work on your health, when you work on why you're doing something, when you don't need approval, when you don't need other people to give you that permission to do something, you free yourself. When you're free, you're gonna make mistakes and you won't think of them as mistakes. Instead, you're gonna look at them as signals. Like, oh, this is telling me to go left. This is telling me to go right. This is telling me I need to do more of this. This is telling me I need to do less of something. And I think it's so important because we put this pressure, these expectations on ourselves for what? You know, whose approval do we really need other than are we attached to why we're doing something? Are we connected to why we're doing something? And I've found that that makes it a lot easier to deal with uncertainty. Your life every day that you go out into the world is uncertain. And I love that Brian was talking about control the controllables, and that came from last week as well, constantly paying that forward. We're the controllable. Our behavior is the controllable. What we focus on is the controllable. What we use our time for, who we're spending our time with. What are we doing outside of the business that is actually helping the business even more so? I work less than I ever had, even though right now I'm working more, but I'm working less because I'm working very intentional. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I'm doing it and who am I doing it with. And that makes dealing with everything else much better. So I'd say that, you know, you have to get to this place where you're very connected to who you are and develop it from there, from the inside out. I know it's very cliche, but it'll help you it'll help you just drown out all that noise. And, you know, everybody will come at you all the time. Sorry, I'm taking it a long time. It's a very sensitive subject because people come at you all the time and saying like, when are you going to make it? When are you going to go through? When is it going to happen for you? When is this? When is that? When is this? All these things. Drown it out. Just stay in your lane and love what you do. Like, love on it. Brian was right. Stay to the basics. And if you get too far out, go back to the basics.
Just gonna pass the baton here. You have a great podcaster voice, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The niche is you. The niche is
What's
you
your
is the
shirt
podcast.
say, by the way? Because you're pointing to it. It's crazy before it's genius. Entrepreneurship, right? Your family thinks you're crazy. Your friends, the conversations that you have are crazy, but that's what starts businesses, y'all. Now, you touched on, every one of you touched on really like the self-care aspect of this as well, because when you're grinding, when you're developing your dream into fruition and you're working the shop, you're doing all the things, you can easily lose sight of the most important position and the person in your business, which is you. So how do you guys just stay centered in that, knowing that you have so much to give to others? And obviously that roller coaster, you know, mentality that we touched on.
That's a great question because in addition to being a business owner, I'm also a parent. I'm a mom of 2 daughters who are in, 13 and 10. I have a partner and I have a team of people that I support. But as an entrepreneur and the leader of a business, you have to remember that you cannot pour from an empty cup. you are the most important person when it comes to the vision of your business, and taking care of yourself is super important. I think a lot of us struggle with that balance and go super hard and hit burnout, which can show up a lot of different ways. Sometimes it starts with like headaches or not sleeping that well, or not, having gut issues, which can then turn into bigger things. So it's super important that you are, mindful of how you are spending your time and continue to take care of yourself. One of the things that was super important to me before the pandemic, I was like an avid spinner. So I would make sure that I prioritized working out. Like, it was the most important thing. I would go before my kids woke up, after, I was working a full-time job at the time too, but it was like the one thing that I could do to release mentally and give myself the space to push myself the way that I needed to physically. So I'd encourage everyone to obviously get hobbies outside of your business, but to take care of your physical health as well, because if you go down, nothing moves.
I'm not a believer in balance. I don't think that there is such thing as a work-life balance. At least I haven't found it in my 18 years of entrepreneurship. To me, it's like you address the things that need to be addressed when they come up. However, I have found creating non-negotiables. There are certain things that I am just going to make sure that I do. There's certain days I will only take meetings starting at 10 o'clock, because there's things that I'm going to do for myself or my home or my children. So I think it's really important to be like, okay, these are the things that are important to me and that need to be handled, or I want these experience, so I'm going to ensure that this happens. And then outside of that, okay, I have that flex space. And also, like, okay, create your non-negotiables and revisit it, because we change. I mean, the Stephanie that's here right now wasn't the Stephanie that was here 5 years ago. I would have said something completely different. So it's also, create your non-negotiables and then recreate them, and then recreate them and recreate them.
Yeah, what they both said, and I think for me, it's been making sure exercise. I love doing CrossFit. I know CrossFit gets bad names. Everybody who does CrossFit only talks about CrossFit, right? But doing something with other people, where I build a community, I can get a competitive edge out, just competitiveness inside of me, getting that out, getting my heart rate going. Man, I feel so much better when I leave there. Whatever problems I was dealing with that day, in the business, they feel and seem so much smaller after I get a great workout in. So that's been one of the best things for me. And I totally agree that I don't think there's always this, I know right now the status quo, or just the big thing, the topic is have work-life balance. And so often, you're going to go through different seasons as an entrepreneur, right? As a startup, like, yeah, you might be working 12, 14 hours a day, right? But you get to a point though where you can make more time for other things. And I think for me, just knowing what season I'm in helps a lot. And then also knowing what's really important to you outside of work and outside of business, knowing whether that's, if you're family, if you're married, have kids, making sure you make them a priority, because in the end, they are the most important thing, right? So I think that's helped me a lot. I wasn't probably ready to have kids 8-10 years ago when, me and my two partners took over our business 10 years ago from our former owner. I wasn't ready, because I was in that mode of just working, grinding all the time. But I've had to learn this one. So I feel like I'm getting better. I'm still not there to the answer to this question, but those are some of the things that have helped me out.
Time. What are you doing with your time? Rest. It's so easy to get wrapped up in doing something that you believe in, or sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of, you got to make this work. And it's hard to let go. And I found that there's this, I love that you brought up not so much about balance, that you don't necessarily like the word, as much as I heard from a friend a long time ago, harmony. And it's finding this, because what is balance? It's all integrated, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's all connected. Like you're multiple things. You're wearing many hats. One minute you're the chef in your house. The next minute you're the financier, you're the maid, you're the housekeeper, you're the barista, you're the accountant for, you're doing all the things. And so what does your day look like? How are you managing your time? How are you looking at it? And I know, again, it's very cliche, but you don't need to do, you can do, I heard a quote, you can do anything, you can't do everything. And so of the anything that you're doing, what is it? And it can't just be your work. And I found that, especially if you're getting like creatively blocked, or if you feel like you're hitting glass ceilings, do anything but the thing you should be doing. And that's hard because we want to force the outcome. We want to like, no, I got to figure this thing out. And I found that if you can get up, you can go for a walk, you can go do something else, you can take a day off, which is hard sometimes, even a week, you'll come back and you'll realize how much clearer you are. You want clarity more than anything. You want time. These are intangibles that you have to really, you know, center on. And when we're in it, it's hard to see it. And so we have to remove ourselves a lot of times from the very things that we love to do. And health all the way. The moment I put health and nutrition and exercise and journaling and prayer and like mindfulness, all of these things first, everything else skyrocketed. And again, we think, no, 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 I got to get to work. And I get it. Hustle culture online says, no, get up, get your ass, get to work, do it, 14, 16 hours. I disagree. I disagree with that. I think you need hustle. I like that seasons were brought up. I think there are times when you're sprinting and times when you're marathoning. That's even a word. But know how to rest, know how to put your health first, and you'll start to realize you're buying back your time and you're figuring out how to do things better. You want to do the good things like better and get rid of everything else. And then all of a sudden you have all this time for other things that we're not really taught that ever. We're taught go out there and hustle it. I did that for 25 years and I did end up with gut issues. I did end up with health issues. I did end up with skin issues. And I watched, what happened to family. And I believe that if you have a better relationship with what you're doing with your time, you can actually buy it back and you can spend more of it doing other things and you'll find that you'll thrive.
I love that. I mean, balance, there's truly no such thing. I love that you guys brought that up, especially as mothers, fathers, 3 kids. I'm with you. We're crazy. And there's no way to do it all. But I believe when you are taking care of yourself and putting that at the forefront, everything can rise together, right? You're just not only focused on business, you're going to become a better mother, a more attentive boss to your employees. So really shifting into how you guys serve your people as well in your community and specifically within your support system. Stephanie and Alex, you guys both run several businesses, put on many events. How have your team members played a role in the growth and sustainability of your businesses?
Well, full transparency, there's absolutely no way that I could sit here and talk about any of my successes, my experiences, my events, the nonprofits, anything that I do without my team. It's an absolute impossibility. It would simply be an idea that would be put on the shelf if I did not have an incredible team. And some of the people from my team are here. So shout out to you guys for believing and trusting in my leadership and my crazy ideas. Cause I literally will come out and be like, oh my gosh, you guys, what if we did this? And everyone, we rah each other and roll up our sleeves and make it happen. That, in my opinion, success is not accomplished alone. That, you create community, and in collaboration, that is key to success. So it's very rare that you'll see me do anything by myself. That I truly love the things that I do and I love the people that I do them with. And I think that is why I'm successful.
I'll add to that because I agree. Team together, everyone achieves more. I'm somebody that firmly believes that the tide rises all ships. My goal and objective in life truly is to have as much fun with my friends as possible, and the fact that I get to do that through the work is the dream for me. The people around me that trust the vision are everything. But I have also learned that you can't necessarily share everything with your team. Sometimes things are still in the conception stage as you are, growing and developing, and you have to be mindful about what you're sharing and with who. But I am incredibly grateful for the people who have rallied around and see what we're doing as more than just bricks and then the cathedral that it really is and can become. So yeah, team is everything.
Doug, having successfully scaled your business, how do you just continue to create that company culture? What are some tangibles for us?
Yeah, so we took over our business, bought out our former owner, who was my mentor in business, in 2014, and we had 40 to 45 people on the team at that time. And fast forward about 10 years, we've grown it to over 300 team members in 4 different states. And I think one of the biggest things that's really helped build that culture and create that culture is caring about our people. I know that sounds cliche, I know it sounds so simple, but actually caring about them. And one thing I say a lot to our team is that, I hope you stay with our company for a long time, but if you don't, if you move on to another company eventually, or a different career, or a different path, I want you to leave better off. I want you to be better off when you leave than when you came in. And that's my vision, right? That's my goal, that, anybody that comes into our company, yes, we try to do fun things like pizza and ice cream on Fridays sometimes and things like that. But to me, it's more about the skill development, right? What can we do to be helping give them skills that are going to help them in business, right? In our world, in the painting industry, in their personal life. We offer, Dave Ramsey, we do leadership classes, we do a lot of things to try to give them skills that are going to help them, in our business, but also be more marketable if they do want to move on eventually, So I think that's where it comes from, is just building that culture where everybody knows, like, one of our core values is continue to learn and grow. And we talk about that before every meeting, right? We hit on our core values, and everybody knows this is very important. If you want to be here, we want you to keep getting better. We don't want you to stay stagnant and, just feel like you're punching a clock every day. Like, that's not the culture we want. So I think that's been one of the things that's been, that's really helped us be able to scale and grow, is by having that mentality.
Matt, I think you can touch on this really well, as you're such an incredible mentor to creatives and entrepreneurs, business owners. What advice would you give for who you surround yourself with, the circle, the people that you're sharing your ideas with, or putting out those crazy, ideas of your business? How important is that influence around you?
I mean, the people you're around is everything, right? So the way I look at it is, I like being around people who ask questions. Like, they immediately love what I'm trying to do, and they just start asking questions, or you should go do that. I found that, well, there's a, I don't know who the original quote was, but it was, you'll never see somebody doing better than you put you down. And people who are doing really well in their thing they're like the greatest advice givers, because they don't give you advice, but they're like the best therapy. Like, they immediately ask you, that's amazing. How are you going to do it? What are you going to go do? Go do it. Go show you, go, like, just go. And I love being around people like that, because they're challenging you, and they've been there, and they know. So they know that the only way to, like, figure it out is to go do something. And if you talk to some of the wrong, quote unquote, wrong people or wrong environments, all they have to say is, well, what if it doesn't work out? It's going to happen. What happens? How will you make money? A day later, have you made money yet? It's like all these things that they keep challenging you on. Like, I'll tell you in 10 years, and they'll still ask you the next day. So, environmentally, the right people they're in the game. They're in the game doing it too. I love being around those people. And I always have this, like, analogy, like, you're on a mountain and you're scaling it, and you're, like, tired, and you look across the way and you can see other people who are doing the same thing, and they look at you and you look at them, and you're like out of just relief that they're doing it too. And that's sometimes all it really takes. Like, you're just in the game with other players, and you're, like, constantly, pushing it to the max for what you're in the game for. And community is everything. I have an online community, and every Monday, we put all of us on the hot seat. Where are we stuck? What's happening? who here can, you know, say what they've been through to get through that? Who here has a resource? Who here can, you know, offer a potential solution to like look into it from a different perspective? You want rooms and communities and people with like ideas and execution and discipline and showing up, not perfection, not out of fear, out of lack, out of all these other things that, you know, can come at you, just out of people who are in the game, who know what it's like, who have been humbled and rocked as well in the game. And that's why they they know how to help you in those moments. So, you know.
That's what makes rooms like this so special and events like this where you can just be authentic. You can, look that person in the eye, like you said, like, yeah, we're going through it. I understand you. I'm here with you. And just having that circle around you is so important. What are other things and tools that you guys have, resources, podcasts you listen to? You can plug yourself, it's fine. Podcasts, books. What do you, because you have to feed yourself daily, right? So what are you guys doing as well to help supplement that?
Okay, so I'm a podcast person. I think some of your first mentors as you're starting out are podcasts, and so I definitely listen to things like My First Million. I like things like Earn Your Leisure. I listen to podcasts like Wall Street for Breakfast because I just want to know social media in the now, like just what's happening around so I can stay informed. I'm also somebody who, when you're doing this, it's going to require a lot of you hyping yourself up. So I'm somebody that uses a lot of affirmations. I keep a whiteboard pen next to my mirror and I write down positive things to myself and I say them to myself and I see them all the time because there will absolutely be things that happen throughout the journey of entrepreneurship. So many things have happened that I can reference, but it has all equipped me and made me stronger in ways that have prepared me for the next level. So I have a mentor and I think that they're incredibly important, but it's important to remember that if this were easy, everyone would be doing it. So embrace the hard and just know that you have survived every difficult day that you've encountered. So just keep going.
And really nothing is easy until you decide it's easy. Working for someone else, maybe in a business where you don't have a decision and your voice doesn't matter, that would be hard. That would be very hard for me. So um, I am a creature of routine, and I am a like I take so many classes. I'm constantly reading books. Like I love personal development to the point where it's kind of like, okay, Stephanie, stop. I've got tons of practices. I mean, you open any mirror anywhere, there's a sticky note that says something. I'll share. These are things that I wasn't taught. It was really survival when I was young. So with my children, even when I wake up my son for school, I put my hand on his frontal lobe and I tell him 3 words of affirmation. So as he's coming to awareness from sleep, that he's coming, you are capable, you are powerful, whatever it is. But I've got so many crazy, not crazy practices that I do in the beginning of my day and at the end of my day. And again, it's like, okay, I'm going to fill up my tank. And then when I get home, I'm going to give myself so many atta girls because like you said, I might be my biggest cheerleader because everyone's pissed off at me that day. I don't know. So I think it's for me that's been very powerful is really investing in myself and my daily practices because before I would say that no one speaks to us worse than we do. So when you can change that, the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you see yourself, I mean, it's a game changer. And it won't just impact you. It's going to impact you, your family, your business, because everywhere you go, there you are.
Yeah, just like Stephanie, I've been an avid, proponent, if you want to call it, or just been addicted to self improvement, personal development. Really since I was probably 17, 18 years old. Even back in middle school, my dad had me reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. All these books about life, money, finance, business at a very young age. John C. Maxwell books, and doing that, I think ingrained in me. And I used to see it come upstairs in the summer times, when I was in school, and I'd see my dad have a legal pad with all of his goals listed out. Think about it as if you guys have kids in here, think about a 12, 13-year-old seeing that and saying like, wow, okay, that's just what you do, right? So what did I do all through high school sports? I wrote out my goals for every season, every sport I played, and I've carried that into business. I think that's been one of the best things for me that's really helped. Me just knowing my why, having goals right in front of me. That's been one of the biggest things. I'm an avid reader. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I also go to events. I went to Tony Robbins, Walked on Fire. I went to Grant Cardone's events, and just refilling your tank. Like I think you said, Stephanie, like you have to do that as a business owner. And even if you can't, afford to go to a big event right away, like, there's so much, there's more today than there ever was. When I was 12 or 13, it was literally books. YouTube wasn't really a thing yet. There wasn't hardly any podcasts probably at that time. You just have to make it a priority. It needs to be just like eating and sleeping. Like you have to make time to invest in yourself. And you do that, so many people do it for a little bit and then they just stop because, oh, I didn't see any results. Well, you do that over and over and over again. You look back to where you were when you started, and you're going to realize like, holy crap, I've changed so much in the last 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years. So I would just implore everybody. I love this question. This is something I have to remind myself today. I mean, I have obviously people in our business, but I have my kids watching me. Like, and I want them to be doing the same things when they start doing sports and get older. I want them to be writing down their goals. So I can either talk to them about it all the time, or I can just do it, right? And they'll see me doing it. So I think it's so important as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, really anybody that wants to improve themselves, to have a plan of what you're going to be doing to better yourself.
Do a lot. I do a lot. I do a lot of stuff. And don't be afraid to like change it up over time too. Some things work in some seasons, some things change. There's an expression that entrepreneurship is the fastest way into personal development in God. My father and my father, God rest his soul, they were a very unique combination. My mother was very holistic, healer, naturopathic. Everything was about the soul, about prayer, about, interconnecting. My father was very entrepreneurial, had several businesses, very disciplined. He was very much get to know yourself. My mother was very much pray. And finding a combination of all of that, right? And so in the mornings, I spend time with myself in the mornings. I don't necessarily get up and immediately go into work. Some do, that's okay. Find some time during the day. I like doing it first thing. I like sitting and being in gratitude with God and just connecting myself and my soul. Like, this is what feels right. And thank you. And work through me today. What am I, have me stand where I need to stand, have me see what I need to see, have me hear what I need to hear, have me say what I need to say, have me write what I need to write, work through me. And then just spending time in that. And I'm not a silent meditator, by any means. I applaud those that do. I have a million things going through my head at a time. But what I love about guided meditation is even taking time out to be like, what do you really want? Like, what do you need right now? How are things going? All these things. I once heard something really good. It was from Dr. Joe Dispenza, if anybody knows who that is. And something that he said was really cool is that what happens with a lot of people is they wake up, they immediately go into their day, 7, 8 o'clock, whatever, and then they do the whole day. And you operated off of an operating system that is based off the past. You got up, your body knew exactly what to do the whole day, and it just did it on autopilot, which is scary. Imagine if you gave yourself extra time in the morning, a few extra hours, 1 extra hour, whatever, and you actually spent time with yourself and you looked at like, how you doing? What do you need? Like, what do you want? What happens? You're now future pacing. You're actually setting yourself up. You're thinking about what you need. You're thinking about what you want. You think about where you want to go. You're writing these things down. What happens? You start to see them pop up throughout the day. And you can make decisions much faster because you were already thinking about them. You were already in the future of what you were wanting to do versus just getting up and working off of autopilot. So you need that time with yourself. You need that reflection, that self-awareness and checking in, and so those are a lot of things outside of the podcast, which is the niche is you. I have my podcast, but then I listen to some other really great podcasts, and find books. You don't have to finish them. Something that Naval Ravikant was one of my favorite authors, and he's just a gifted. If any of you, the Almanac of Naval, I expect a thank you on my Instagram account. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Just read his work, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about managing your time and managing, just trust me. I want to cut it off. So.
Well, for me, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes even like the self-care journey can get burnout, overwhelming. Like wake up at 5, pray, do the journal, high five yourself in the mirror, jump up and down like Tony Robbins. So there's a lot out there. They all gave great examples. Find what's best for you, obviously. And I love every piece of that, what you guys shared. You said you like questions. I know we have some questions here in the audience. I hope you guys were taking your notes. If you do have a question, it's your moment. Stand up, hold the mic, address who you want to ask the question to, and we'll get to it.
Hello, is this on? Oh, it is on. Okay. Alex, Stephanie, Doug, and Matt, I just want to say thank you so much, first and foremost, for being here. Absolutely fabulous. My name's Abby Charles, and my question is for you. With everything you know, what are the 2 biggest lessons you've learned in business or personal life that you wish to share with the audience?
So some of the biggest lessons have been some of the most difficult. So make sure you have your legal paperwork in order. Honestly, have a lawyer. One of the first people that we hired was legal representation. It was super important. So that's like a very practical piece of advice. What was the question? I'm sorry, 2 things that have helped us. The other thing that I learned, especially over the last year, is truly how important it is to take care of yourself. And also to have, to document what you're doing from the very beginning so that you have your processes and the way that you do things in place. So often we grow really fast and don't necessarily document what we're doing. And so much of that information is like tribal knowledge. It lives inside of somebody's head. And it's really important that you have those systems and processes built. So I would encourage anyone who's starting out to just like document what you're doing, use tools like ChatGPT to, pump these things out for you, and hire lawyers, have lawyers. It will save you a lot of money.
I'm going to answer it for business and personal, and I'm going to do 3 if you're okay with that. I am my biggest challenge. So once you understand yourself, you become less challenging for yourself, and that I know nothing. And the more I know, there's more to know. And then the third thing is to ask for help. I feel like in this entrepreneurship journey, I always felt like I'll figure it out. I'm a strong, independent woman. I can figure this out. Well, there's so many resources. Yes, I can. And if I just call you and you and you and you guys might have someone, you might know someone, you might ask for help. Go easy on yourself, give yourself grace, ask for help. There's a whole crowd of people here that are cheering you on and know that you can do it.
I think 2 things in business that I've learned probably over the last couple of years specifically. I've always been the mentality of, grow, grow, grow. Let's go get to 100 million as fast as we can. And I've got 2 partners that are really good to kind of even me out a little bit. They're a little more conservative, and together I think we make a really good blend. But as we've grown and we've scaled really fast in the last 4 to 5 years, the big lesson I've learned in business is you have to make sure your foundation's right. Right? If you want to grow, if you want to create a big business, it's not going to be worth it if the foundation isn't right. Right? And if you start to realize that, then you need to stop, slow down, get that foundation right, and then you can grow and scale from there. So that's been one. The other one's on just knowing your business and knowing what you're good at, and not taking on work or whatever it is. Maybe it's a customer or just something outside of your niche that you know you're really good at and you've never tried it. You can try out different, whether it's different service lines or different products you want to sell, but don't go all in on those. First, try them out in a small way. Make sure you can satisfy the customer. Make sure you can actually be profitable at it before diving in and potentially putting your business at whatever size you're at risk, right? You have to make sure that you know what you're good at and you stay in that lane until you have tried it or tested it enough to make sure you can be profitable at it. So those two things in business have been some big learning lessons.
I have three, and they apply to both. Have the hard conversation, humility, learn to say no. That's it, actually, no. Have the hard conversation. It's honesty. Lawyers come into play. I know that very well. Conversations that could have been had much earlier on. The things that you worry about, other people do too. Things that you need to figure out, these are your running mates or your clients or your customers or whoever it is or who you're sourcing from or who's manufacturing. Just have the conversation. Don't wait, don't assume, don't make up. I heard somebody say recently, it was great. It was like, don't make up imaginary conversation in your head. And I love that. Or imaginary argument, which we can all do, right? So have that conversation, takes that down, takes that out immediately. And it puts you into a place of getting out in front of things like, hey, I want to talk about something. I don't even know if this is what's happening. This is how I'm feeling. Can I talk about it with you? And you have to be open, humility. You can be wrong. That's part of any path that you take in life is owning when you're wrong. And, and also owning when you're not wrong, right? And you have to kind of know the balance between both. But humility is such a superpower because in your humility, it's how you get anywhere faster. I don't understand. Sometimes I can't understand how people don't recognize that asking for help is how you get somewhere faster. I don't know how to do this. Can you show me how you did it so I can go do it too? I don't know how to handle this. What did you do and what resources and tools so I can go do it too? Not the humility that I think sometimes people ask help for other people to go do it, but the humility of asking for help and asking and being honest, right? And then the third is knowing what to say no to, which is a lot. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of things you can do, doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of things that may not feel right. You got to tap into that intuition, that sixth sense, right? That intuition knows you've got to listen to that. And if it's, what's the famous expression? If it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no, right? Or something like that. It's a no, right? It's true. And if you need extra time to think through that, great. But learn to say no in personal and professional. So.
Hello. Awesome. My name's Ivan. My question is to any of the panelists. Could you describe your worst mistake in business and how you got through it at the time?
Love this question.
Who wants to go first?
Man, there's so many. So I'll take it back to the beginning in 2007 when I decided to open a coffee shop. I'm from Maryville, I'm from the West Valley. So I was looking in the West Valley. However, there was an opportunity downtown. And my first business, I assumed a failing business's debt. And I had to work for years to pay that debt off, even to get to a basic zero. So really what I should have done is let the business fail and then come in. So I think that was one of the so many failures. And really success is just a series of failures that you've eventually come upon a success.
Yeah, for me, second year taking over the business, me and my two partners took it over and bought the business from our former owner, the founder of our company. And in 2015, we thought we were just doing everything kind of how he was running the business, right? Paying everybody, all of our painters the same way. But we quickly realized we weren't doing it the right way. And I love when you talked about compliance, because yes, we have a very painful lesson from the Department of Labor when we realized we weren't tracking hours and we thought we were paying everybody correctly, but we weren't paying overtime correctly, weren't tracking hours the right way. And we had a very painful lesson in 2015 that I'm glad we learned it and got things right at that point, because it would have been much more painful today had we not had learned that lesson at that point. But yeah, I mean, it was almost all of our profits that year that we had to basically pay out for the whole year, and it was very tight. Cash flow was extremely tight for a while, and yeah, it was painful. But to your point, on the other side of that, it helped make us stronger, have a better foundation, and in the end, was actually better that it happened at that point.
I would say dream big, but go slow. Slow progress. When I was 22 years old, I went big and I got my ass handed to me, like all right up front. Mortgaged my second loan on my house, got into business, got our fathers involved as investors. Family's not always a good thing. My father was an attorney, so it helped. Ended up in court in another state that we didn't even operate in, and lost $100,000. We lost some money. We lost some money on it as well too. And the reason why I say you can go big but go slow is when you don't know what you don't know, which is everything, and we will always not know everything. One thing at a time, think in decades, not days. You don't have to do everything right away. And we felt like we had to do everything right away. And we felt like we had to get everything perfect. And we did every classic mistake they tell entrepreneurs not to do, we did it. I mean, and so instead of just, jumping all in, be all in, but like handle one thing at a time, just one thing at a time. And then really think about like, do I need this now or is this a later thing, right? But yeah, I learned a lot. I got a Harvard Law degree from that. I got an MIT degree in engineering from that. I got all these degrees in learning from, the experience. So yeah, not a failure, definitely my biggest mistake to date. But, just that would be also my advice on top of that is, go big, but take your time and think in decades.
I think mine is more like a general statement. I mean, every single day I experience failure, things that don't go right, they don't go the way that I anticipated, but I think that the biggest testament to an entrepreneur is the fact that you're able to get up and do it again the next day. So don't be discouraged by those failures. They will absolutely come. It might cost you a lot of money. I know I can recall one with taxes specifically, and how important it is to make sure that even if you don't owe anything, you file on time, right? Because those penalties are expensive. So those little things that you learn. But similarly, I learn from them, and you pick up and you proceed, and hopefully you impart the knowledge on somebody else so that they don't make the same mistake. So hopefully you are able to take something from what we share and not do the same thing, because it can be very expensive. But I will say that this has been the greatest adventure of my life, and I'm so grateful because it has allowed me to meet incredible people, have opportunities like this, and put me in places and spaces that I never would have imagined. So I will do it all day and twice on Sunday if it meant that this would be the outcome.
I love how you guys were like, oh no, my failures. But it's true. We all have them, and it's to continue on, to keep going, to wake up that next day. Couple more questions from the audience.
I have an unusual question in the sense that I'm closer to I should be winding down my career instead of getting all this energy. I've been a solopreneur as an accountant for many, many years, and I worked a lot with micro businesses, and the term dream big and grow small or as you were basically saying, I can attest to, because some people are going to the moon and some people are, they don't want to go to the moon. They're happy with whatever they're doing, and that's their growth mode. My question to you though is pivoting your job description. And I know everyone up there can agree that you might be the best barista, you might be the best painter, you probably have one heck of a writing platform, and you as an artist and business manager, but somewhere along the line, you have to pivot your job description. So if you tack on CEO, and that takes you from the core of what the business income is. And in my case, I'm now CEO and I'm no longer doing accounting. I just wondered how you would address entrepreneurs understanding that change and how they can perhaps go into changing their job description. Does that make sense to you guys?
I can start. I mean, so your question is, how do you start to tell people who you are in this new iteration? Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Gotcha. Okay, so how we delegate. So it's interesting. I own a makeup studio, but I'm actually not a makeup artist. I was never a makeup artist. So I've always been a little bit removed from my business and not necessarily been an owner operator. So I've had that layer in between me always. The way that I look at what I do is that I'm responsible for curating an experience for our guests and ensuring that they receive the type of makeup application experience that I would desire them to have. When it came to deciding, I guess, who I was going to implement and add to my team next, I really did seek counsel from my network and community and asking people, what should my next hire be? Is it a full-time hire? Is it a fractional hire? Like, what do I do next? And so when it comes to how I decided to proceed with next steps, it was really seeking counsel from people who are a couple steps ahead of me and figuring out what they did and emulating that and proceeding accordingly with what felt right to me. Hope that answers your question.
And I would say I was a owner operator. So I did all the jobs until I figured out how horrible it was and how great it was. And what's the best way to navigate the horrible and how to really expand what's enjoyable. And then what I did is I attempted to, I like to hire within because, the team is familiar with the culture and they get it. They get it. So it's then, building leadership from within and growth opportunities from within my business.
As your business grows, sorry, this has been it's a hard pivot, right? Or at least for me, it was. I think it was about 4 years ago. Me and my two partners kind of realized like we needed to define our roles, right? Before we had just been owner, and we kind of worked in a section or a sector of the business and trying to make that part of the business better. And we just grew. We were in multiple cities, had different branches and different states we were in now, and we really needed to define our roles better. So we sat down and we kind of said, okay, who's best for each role? And when they kind of said, okay, I think you should be the CEO. To me, first thing I thought after leaving that meeting, like, oh, this is a cool title, but I don't know what a CEO does. I've never been one, right? I don't have a lot of friends at that time that were CEOs. So I went out and met people and found a network. I found a CEO peer group that's been amazing that I'm still in to this day, where I meet once a month for a whole day, and I'm learning from businesses that are larger, that have grown faster, that are in different positions than we're in, that I'm getting a chance to learn from. So that's what I did. I think that's probably the best thing if you're going into a role you've never done, you need to get around people that have done that successfully, pick their brains, spend time around them, find out what are you doing or what did you do to be successful in this role. And yeah, that'd be my best advice on that.
Alex brought up a good point about documenting everything from the beginning. Your goal as an entrepreneur, even if you really, really love what you do and you can stay close to it, is to work yourself out of the business. And that's hard, especially if you're attached to some of the tasks, but you can't, again, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, is the famous expression. And there's another great one that James Clear said, which is, it's funny, like I have them and then like you lose them like from so many different, I'm waiting, while talking and then thinking about what you guys are saying. Well, anyways, we'll come back to that, but it's, you can't delegate what you don't understand. Right. And so I think in the beginning, I know in the beginning, you're constantly like learning all of these different things and you want to get your feet wet to know what you are good at and the other 90% that you're going to eventually delegate. But you want to do that early on, because if you delegate right away, you don't know what's happening when somebody else tells you that that's what's happening, or, if it's going well, or if they're stealing, or if there are any number of things that could be happening. When you actually understand something from your own, stepping into those tasks and stepping into those roles, and this is not my role, there's better people for this, you know how to ask for it, you know what to look for. And when they ask, what do you want? You know what to tell them what you want, because you're like, well, here's what I was trying to do. Oh, here's how you do that. Great. Now that's your role, but you can't delegate what you don't understand. And I remember it was James Clear said, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Goals are great. Systems buy back your time. Again, I will keep preaching this over and over again. And systems will help you figure out how to simplify what you're doing and allow other help to come in or other things to work for you. But it also shows you like how you can, figure out how to give up a previous role that is not going to allow you to, expand because you have other things to do. So hopefully that answers.
All right, we have one more question, and this is from our virtual audience.
Hi. Looking back, what is something you would tell yourself when you first started your business?
So I got some great advice with a mentor very early on who told us, and I say us a lot too, because none of this is by myself, it's we, my whole team collectively, but as hard as you think it's going to be, harder. But don't forget what drove you and what your why was initially, but it will absolutely be hard. There have been days that have like literally brought me to my knees, but you'll survive. It will be fine.
It's hard out there, y'all. It's hard out there. We're not going to make it out alive anyways. So give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Yes. Like lighten it up. Lighten it up. We know that it's going to be challenged, that there's not any entrepreneur that has not experienced challenge. There's no way. So have some fun, lighten it up, and be gentle on yourself.
I'd say to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself yet, you need to find somebody that believes in you. And I'd say that along with, it's going to be hard, but don't quit. So many times people quit right when they're so close to getting a breakthrough. So I would just tell you guys, starting a business, or if you're just getting your business off the ground, like don't quit, right? Yes, don't keep doing the same thing if it's not working over and over, but don't quit. You will wake up one day and say, man, I'm really glad I didn't quit that. I really wanted to. It was really hard, but I kept going. There's a lot of things in life that are hard, right? Working for a boss that's horrible is hard, right? Having a job is hard. Having a business is hard. There's a lot of hard things. Choose your hard. And yeah, those would be some of the things for sure.
Trust yourself. That's, more than the advice that sometimes you're trying to get from the world to give you the approval that you're looking for, to just go for it. If you have something that you feel called to do it faster. and don't allow yourself too much time to keep like overthinking it over and over and over again. You have to move to get the answers. There's not enough information you're ever going to get before you dance. It's just not the way it works. You make a move, you get some information, you make another move, and you just keep moving that way, right? And so I say trust yourself, because you actually do know. You do know. It's just that there might be some outside things that are kind of affecting, your ability to make that move. And so I think it's so unbelievably important to tap into that intuition, and and to get off the sidelines, just move faster, have a lot of grace. It's hard until it's not. There's an expression that says, it doesn't get easier, you just get better. And I have a thing that I say, that if you can close the gap between intuition and execution, just keep closing that gap more and more and more, and you just keep, I have an idea, let me see how it works out. I have an idea, let me see how it works out. And you just keep dancing and trusting yourself, you'll move through things a lot faster. You'll handle things a lot quicker. It doesn't mean that things are easier, but you are better, and you're able to handle those things much faster. And so, don't be intimidated by the hard. It's a good hard. And I think anything that you're connected to is a different kind of hard work than anything you're disconnected to, right? I mean, you're disconnected from something that like just doesn't resonate with you, and you want to go into something that does. You might look at that hard work and be like, oh, no, I'm not even about to start all over or start my life all over, or go in a whole different direction because it's hard. No, that's a different hard. Hard work for something you're connected to that's like Kobe Bryant playing basketball. Like, it's a love. It's different than when you're disconnected from something and you've been putting and pouring so much hard work. So don't confuse the two.
Where do we grow from here? I always have the vision of the story. Don't quote me. Google it. There's a tree. I believe it's the bamboo tree. It's called mom brain, by the way. You had a mom brain moment where you couldn't remember the quote. But you plant it, and it takes 5 years to sprout. 5 years. Nothing happens. Everything's ground level in the foundation, the watering, the seed, everything that happens is underground, and you don't actually see it come to life for 5 years. And that's your business. I mean, I think we all could agree, sitting up here, like, it took some time. You're not going to get that instant gratification, especially now these days, social media, everyone's an entrepreneur. You're making $10,000 an hour. It's going to take time, right? So picture yourself as, I think it's the bamboo tree. Don't quote me, but it is. Okay, there we go. Not mom brain. All right, well, give it up to our amazing panelists tonight. Thank you guys. I'll let you guys take a break, get some water, and then we're going to have networking with you guys after this. And again, thank you so much. Before we let you all go, I'm sure you all have some questions about how you can be the next grant award winner. Again, $50,000 of grants offering out to you guys. And we have Bethany Mock here, Mock, to enter to the stage to give us some more details on the grants.
Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. I would love to see a show of hands. Who is aware that we have $50,000 that we are giving out in grant funding this year? Almost everybody's hand should be raised. Now, keep your hand up if you have attended 3 out of 4 sessions already. Incredible. If you've completed your 1 post-session survey, still some hands up, hopefully. The last piece, the most exciting piece, is completing your application for grant funding, which will be available online starting this Friday. If you have any questions about our grant application process or who we're looking to fund this year, please come visit us in the vendor village at the grants information booth. We have changed who we're looking to fund this year. And as a reminder, we are looking to fund Arizona-based businesses who are for profits, folks who have been in operations for at least 6 months, and folks who have an annual revenue generation of less than $500,000. So to ease the application process and to answer any questions you have after the conclusion of this incredible 4-week series, we do have 3 virtual information sessions that we will be hosting online in September. You can register for those online at sfef.org. mentorship-speakerseries.org, or come visit us again in the vendor village to learn more about how to stay connected with our community. While I'm on the stage, I would love if you could join me in thanking all of the incredible people behind the scenes who have made this production possible for us. Special thanks to our vendor village sponsor, the Painting Co., Allure Events Co., Event Rents, and Dropkick Media. And before we head out, we would like to do a special thanks to Faith in the Arizona Team Center. So Faith, if you could please join me on stage at this time. Thank you so much for your generosity and hospitality. Let's hear it for this incredible venue that we've been at this year. It has been such a treat to be here. Every single week, seeing this room absolutely filled with energy has been so great. So thank you again to Faith and your team.
Just really quick, for everybody that's wondering, well, why the heck are we in an empty office corner up on the 11th floor for these events? We're the first local ownership Arizona Center has ever had, and we are really reconceptualizing what this is going to be for downtown, but we are 7 acres of downtown. And so all I'm going to say is stay tuned because we have some exciting things coming your way. Thank you.
All right. Another round of applause actually for Bethany and Marina because they have been doing so much behind the scenes, making this possible week after week. And as you've noticed, this is just such a community of love, of servantship, and we're truly a great community to be a part of. So if you're leaving here craving more, we do have an event coming up September 25th at the Four Peaks Wilson Tasting Room. The foundation will be hosting a free Beyond Business community event dedicated to fostering and building deeper connections among Arizona entrepreneurs. So stay tuned on our social media channels and the foundation newsletter for more details on that. And with that, we'd like to invite everyone to stick around and connect. Happy networking, and thank you so much for being a part of this amazing event week after week, year after year. We'll see you next year, hopefully, on this stage too. Thank you.